Welcome to the Smart Madden Starter Kit. This is Eric Rayweather, going to help you kick off your Madden 19 year. I'm going to go over a very nice offensive scheme that you could use from day one. I'm going to also go over a very nice defensive scheme that you can use for day one, and I'm going to also show you some red zone scoring plays. So the formation we want to look at is the gun Trey Y flex. The reason I picked this formation is because you can find this in at least half the playbooks in the game. Two of the better playbooks that have it off top of my head are the Seahawks and the Saints, but you can find this player or this formation or one very similar to it with the same plays in most playbooks in the game. So we're going to go over PA crossers, levels Y corner, inside zone, wide receiver screen, and fake screen wheel. A nice 5-play mini scheme to keep your opponents honest. So PA crossers, one of the best plays last year, still a very good play again this year. The way I like to set this play up is by putting the A tight end on a fade, and then I'm going to put the outside X receiver on an in route, and we're going to try to flood the right side of the field. You always want to run this formation to the wide side of the field, so you want the trips wide receivers on the short side going over to the right side. So the first thing here is you always want to check it down to the in route if it's open. The block sheds have been turned up this year, so if that in route is open, take it, get your safe 5 to 10 yards every time. I know that you want to hit the crossing route and that is the big money, and that crossing route is very, very tough to guard, but if the in route is there, if the short route is there in general this year, I suggest taking it. Don't ever pass up the safe 5 to 10 yard gain. Now the deep cross you're going to see just absolutely destroys any defense. Cover 2, cover 3, man, it's going to destroy them all. It's one of those routes that almost pretty much has to be user guarded, or you're going to have to come up with like a very exotic coverage to lock it up. That was against cover 3. Now we're going to show the play against cover 2. Again, if the in route is open, you check it down. You can see there we almost got 15 yards on the in route. So just because it's a 5-yard route doesn't mean that it doesn't have that yards after catch potential. You always want to take the first read that's open. Now we're going to show you the crossing route again. Look how wide open this gets against cover 2. No one even near it. Put a little move on him there. Almost was able to score a touchdown on that. But that crossing route is just very deadly, and that is the main staple route of this entire formation because you're going to get your opponents worried about that, and that's going to open up so much more for us as we get down into breaking the other plays. Now, you can also hit the post over the middle against a cover 2 as well. You want to throw it right after he cuts. You definitely want to possession catch it. You may take a hit, but as long as you possession catch the ball, you definitely increase the chances of you holding on to the ball. But that post will definitely be a decent option against cover 2. Against man, you'll see this crossing route is just going to toast any man defender in the game. Doesn't matter who it is. The more speed and route running you have there, the better. Obviously, we have Tyreek Hill, the fastest wide receiver in the game. You don't need somebody that's that fast, but the faster they are, just naturally, the little bit more separation you'll be able to get. But route running matters more than anything else on that route. And again, you saw there with the in route. The in route has the ability to beat man defense as well. So now we're going to talk about the inside zone. And the reason this is so good is not only are inside zones just been good in Madden for a while, but in these type of scenarios right here, this plays directly off of the play action play. So we have a deadly play action play that we hit them with, but then with this inside zone, now we have to keep their user defender honest. Is he running the ball? Is he passing the ball? He has to worry about that deep cross, but he also has to worry about keeping his gap integrity to stop the run. So those two plays alone do a very good job at playing off of each other because it puts the user in a no man's land kind of situation where he has to start guessing, is it the run or is it actually the pass? And if he's not on his P's and Q's, he's going to get ate up. Now, the next play we're going to look at is the levels Y corner. Again, we always want to run this trips to the short side of the field, and we want to run our plays going to the wide side of the field. This flat route by the running back does a very good job at tearing up cover 3 defense, and it does a really good job against man as well. I'm going to show it versus cover 3 first. We want to put the tight end on a fade again because he's going to pull the vertical. He's going to pull the zones back better than he will with the corner route. And then I take the Y wide receiver and put him on a drag because I don't need the dual in routes there. I'd rather have one of those guys on a drag. But notice how wide open this gets against cover 3. You can get 10 plus yards on this flat route unless they play underneath coverage. With this type of route, you're forcing them to play underneath. But the problem is if they play underneath, that frees up other plays that we have out of this formation, especially the play we just ran previously. No one's going to want to shade underneath with the threat of that deep crossing route. But this route right here, if they're playing a cover 3, which a lot of people like to play, that crossing route's open all day long. Now, you can also hit the drag as well. If they don't play underneath, you have 2 options. So even if your opponent decides to use the flat, that's going to leave the drag wide open, and you can turn that upfield for 5 to 10 yards as well. Very, very simple. Now, Here again, if they play underneath, then you can go up top to the deep in route. So even if they do shade underneath, you still obviously have options that you can hit down the field. That deep in route is going to be the go-to if they try to start cheating up to worry about the flat route and the drag. Here we're going to show a cover 2. Now if I'm going against someone that's running a lot of cover 2, you'll see it in the game when you play. You see a lot of previous play. If you're playing someone that runs a lot of cover 2 and you're kind of anticipating that, I would make the drag my first read on this play, because the flat route can still get you usually 4 to 5 yards against a cover 2, but the in routes and the drag routes are going to just be better options in that case. But never forget about the little backside drag, because it is going to be an option there against any zone defense that you can kind of hit them on the back end. Here we're going to show man defense, and look at how open the flat route gets even against man defense. It's just the way it cuts, it usually gets good leverage against the man defender, and it's going to pick up some extra yards on the outside. So if someone's running man or running zone or cover 3 zone, you're going to really be able to take advantage of that route. Now here we were looking to hit the deep in route. We got sacked. I'll just go to the replay here to show you just the separation we were getting with Tyreek Hill, because this is another really good man beating route. The deep in, as you can see, almost has 5 yards of separation. You see the shorter in route underneath also had a few yards of separation. So this is still a very good man beating play as well, that you definitely can take advantage of people that want to run man defense. Now the next play we're going to look at is the fake screen wheel, and the key to this play is you want your fastest wide receiver on the inside. We already have Tyreek Hill there, but the reason you want him here is because this route is going to be a very good cover 2 bomb. As you see, he's going to split the safeties. We actually are going to get just barely run down here, but we're going to run this a few times, and you're going to see people that like to run cover 2, which is very popular. Cover 2 and cover 3 are probably the 2 most popular coverages you see online. This is a cover 2 destroyer. If they want to go cover 2, you need to pull this play out a few times a game to keep them honest and get some easy points, because as you can see, especially with the speed out there, he's going to split the safeties, and this is just an instant money play touchdown for someone that wants to abuse cover 2. And like I said, you have to take into account the other PA play that's so powerful that destroys cover 2 as well, but also destroys cover 3, the level sail, the inside zone. All of these together make a very, very tough scheme to defend. This will even beat the middle linebacker in a deep blue. A lot of more advanced players will do this with cover 2. They'll drop the middle linebacker in a deep blue. As long as you have a fast guy here, you can see over the top, it is still a touchdown. If you have more of the top end speed wide receivers, they should be able to beat any linebacker in the game, because most of the linebackers, even the elite speed linebackers, usually can't keep up with the likes of a Tyreek Hill or a John Ross. Another great thing about this play is you can playmaker the smoke screen. You do this by holding the right stick up. So if you're playing against people that are just running a lot of zone, which is typical to see online, mainly zone defense, you can just be patient, let the zones drop back a little bit, and you can see you can just playmaker the X receiver up, throw a bullet pass, and you're going to get an extra 10 to 15 yards out of this simple playmaker play. And again, when you're taking into account all the other things you already have to worry about out of this formation, it's a real cat and mouse game with what type of defense is your opponent going to attack you with. You have deep cross, you have the one play touchdown over the middle against a cover 2, you've got inside zone, you've got level sail. Again, now you have this. There's just too many things to worry about. If someone wants to run a cover 2, their user has to worry about defending, that deep streak, but also the deep cross in the PA crossers play. So they're not going to be sitting down here in the flat worried about a smoke screen, but as you can see, against a cover 3, same results. Now, if they were to play a hard flat type coverage, cover 3, cover 2, whatever have you, then you're just going to open up this wheel route to get wide open as you see a bullet pass, and we're getting 20 plus yards. So even if they, let's say they go cover 3, they shade underneath, and maybe they're going to look out for the crossing pattern, you're still going to have this wheel route open here. So with all the plays in this formation, you really make it tough for your opponent to defend you. Now, if you notice man defense, I would audible to something else. Notice how all the defenders are directly lined up over each receiver. If I notice that, I think that's probably a man defense. So I would do something like audible back to PA crossers instead, because I know that this is a much better man beating play. The fake screen wheel is a much better against zone. It's not the best against man. So as you see, if you see everybody lined up over your wide receivers like that, you audible to a play that does a better job against beating man. And as you saw, we just got a really good gain on that. Here again, you're going to see using the playmaker. This is just a very, very annoying tactic that your opponent has to worry about on top of everything else that we've already broken down. Now, last but not least, we want to look at the PA wide receiver screen. This is a mix-in play. You don't want to spam this too much. And a pro tip here is when you throw the ball, you don't want to try to take control of your receiver immediately, because usually when you do, you can get really weird animations, run really far backwards, just really weird stuff that not sure why that's still a problem in the game, but it is. So you kind of want to let the computer take control over them briefly, because the computer will usually get the guy going upfield the quickest way possible. And then once he's taken a few steps up the field, at that point, then you take over and then you try to make a move in the open field. But this is just a simple, try to pick up 5 yards. If you catch him in the right defense, catch him in a blitz, you can follow your blockers and maybe get a touchdown out of something so simple as this. But as you can see, we're just trying to pick up a consistent 5 to 10 yards, and it's just another mix-in to keep our opponents honest and keeping them having to just worry about something else. Now, let's talk about goal line scoring. This is the hardest place to score, so I'm going to use the goal line fullback dive, for example. I'm going to sub in Charkandrick West at fullback. The reason for this is you want to run a fullback dive, but you need a guy that has 90-plus jump here, because we're going to be jumping over the line to score close to the goal line. So pretty much any team should have at least a halfback or a tight end that you could put at the fullback spot who has 90-plus jump. And what you want to do, if you're on Xbox, you want to hold the left trigger and the X button to dive over the line. If you're on PlayStation, you hold the L2 and the square button. And if you have that 90-plus jump rating, you're going to see that this is a very, very consistent way to score when you're at the 2-3 yard line, where it can be so hard to score. You're just going to jump over the line, and it's pretty consistent. Even if it doesn't work the first time, maybe you come up a little short here, we're just going to run it in regular, because if it's open, there's no need to jump. But even if it takes 2 or 3 tries, you might get to the goal line on the first jump, but you might not get all the way in. If you do it on that next time, you're pretty likely to get in, and that's what you do in the red zone. You run plays that give you a high percentage chance of scoring, because nothing is automatic when you get this close to the end zone. It's just very hard. There's no passing windows. People put everybody in the box. Now, another way to score, if you're a little further back, you want to utilize post routes. So here in Gun Bunch, we're going to use clear out, SE out. And you want to put a tall receiver on a post route. It could be a tight end. It could be a wide receiver. Here, we're going to use Travis Kelce. We can also smart route the post route if we feel like that's better. And you want to throw a high point pass and aggressive catch it. There, we dropped the first one, but you're going to see, again, we're trying to look for high percentage plays. If we throw this 3 times in a row, there's a very high percentage chance that we score. And you see there that we did. To throw the high point pass, you hold the LB or the L1 button, and also the receiver's icon at the same time. That's going to throw a high point pass, and then you just hold triangle or Y to go up high for the high point aggressive catch. And this is just one of those things. If you throw it, 3 times in a row, there's a high chance that you score 1 time, and that's all you can do this close to the end zone, is just go with high percentage plays that give you the highest percentage chance of scoring. Now let's get into the defensive scheme. We're going to use 3-4 odd because this is a very popular formation. It's very simple to run for both beginners, but it's also something that advanced players like as well. You can find this in pretty much any 3-4 based playbook. I recommend the Ravens playbook. The first play we're going to look at is the Will Buck 3 press. So we're going to pretty much have a blitz from the left, a blitz from the right, and a coverage defense. To set up this blitz, very simple. All you do is base align, which is wire triangle, and then right on the left stick. And you see we get the linebacker looping through the gap. That is Von Miller. You're going to want your 2 inside linebackers to be guys that are kind of speedy, because those are the 2 guys that will blitz on the different plays that we show. But again, you see, all you do is baseline and you send a guy through the gap. It doesn't get much easier than that. Anybody can set this up. You can have it set up long before the offense even gets to the line of scrimmage. If you're not someone that's comfortable usering, then don't. But if you are going to user, I would say user the guy in the yellow hook zone. Your job is to stay over the middle, try to jump the first read. And you're just hoping if you could take away that first read, you can get them sacked in the backfield. Now, yes, if you block a running back on the same side as this, you're probably going to block it. If you block a running back on the opposite side, it could still come in. But that's why you have to mix your blitzes in. You don't want to spam them. Now, the next blitz we're going to look at is the Edge Blitz 3. It's pretty much the same play, but it's from the opposite side of the field. Again, all you have to do is base align. Wire triangle right on the left stick, and we're going to get the same looping pressure, but from the opposite side. So, again, when running these plays, you want to mix in the blitzes. You don't want to blitz every play, because then someone's just going to block their running back every single play and limit the chance you have to sack them. My goal when playing defense is I want to play coverage. I want to frustrate people. I want to get them thinking that they have to send everybody out on routes. And then I wait till I get them in that 3rd and 5, and I'm like, okay, bam, now I'm coming with the blitz. And that's how you catch people off guard. Now, in terms of base defense, the cover 4 drop show 2 is still a very viable base defense. Why? You have 8 guys on the field, or 8 guys in coverage, so you stop you do a good job at stopping the pass limiting, you know, the windows that they have to throw in, but it's also good at stopping the run because it's a cover 4 and the safeties are in run fits. That means they are run-first defenders. So that is why this was such a go-to play last year, and it's still going to be just as good again this year. This is the play I run on early downs because if they're going to run the ball, I know that I can contain the run, but if they want to pass, I know I have the coverage on the field to make them have to really take their time and, you know, really have to dink and dunk. So what I do is I base a line, then I shade my coverage underneath because I want hard flats. Why? Because people typically like to dink and dunk, throw drags, throw flat routes, especially on early downs. To shade underneath, you do this by pressing wire, triangle, and down on the right stick. If you have time, I suggest walking your safeties down manually. The reason why just gets them a little bit more in the box. That's just better for stopping the run. You don't have to do that, but that is kind of a little bit more of a pro tip that I would suggest. And then from here, you user one of your linebackers, and you can also crash your defensive line out if you want because we don't really need them on contains. We'd rather have them on pass rush. So the goal here is frustrate your opponent. You know, limit the amount of yards they can get on the run. You see here, we're blowing up the run in the backfield. Limit the amount of yards they can get on the run, but also limit the big playability. It's hard to get big plays against a cover 4. You know, they make them dink and dunk, and then once we get them in those third down situations, then we pull out our blitzes because they're so used to going against 8 in the box, 8 guys in coverage, you know, down in and down out, that they're not going to be thinking, okay, I have to block my running back. That's, in my opinion, how you should run defense in Madden. You shouldn't look to blitz every play. You should look to sneak the blitz in when they're least expecting it because that's when you get them to be like, oh, they're so used to coverage, you throw a blitz at them, they either take the sack on a crucial down or they force a pass because they weren't ready for the blitz and they throw an interception. So that is my stuff for you guys, a good offensive scheme, a good defensive scheme, and some red zone stuff to help you out. So I hope you get out there in Madden 19 and crush it, and I will see you guys on the next video.